Alright, so today we're going to take a look at doing a 3D textured HDU signage type project. Okay, so I've already prepped the geometry in another CAD package, and we're going to start off by setting up the stock. So we're going to use a 4x4 sheet of material that's 1.5 inches thick. We're going to zero in this left-hand corner, and we're going to choose OK. Alright, so that sets up our job. Now from here, we have both 2D geometry, or vectors, right? And we have 3D geometry, which is an STL file. So to begin with, we're going to import the 2D geometry. So we're going to import that from here. And we're going to just grab this file here. And this file has all the geometry needed. I'm going to get rid of this one here. It has all the geometry needed, and it has everything on different layers already, so it just kind of makes it easy to figure out what you need to use and turn on or off the geometry that's you're going to use for that operation. Okay, so that's the 2D geometry. Now the next part is importing the 3D geometry. So we go to here for this one, and we're going to import this file here. Alright, so there the file is. What I'm going to do is center the model so it's centered on the stock, and then I'm going to do a position and import. So it tends to center the model on the center of the stock, and how I tend to do this is like this. I move it all the way up, and then I import it, and that gives us our texture. Okay, so in this example with the texture, I actually have it in the 3D model, and the idea here would be to 3D machine all of that texture out, and then just 2D profile the cutout shapes, right? Okay, so we have our model, we have our 3D geometry, we have our 2D geometry. Our next step is to get into the CAM side of the software. Okay, so we're gonna jump over to this side here. Okay, so from here, what we want to look at doing is the 3D operation, and we're going to just use this small 1/8 inch ball mill that we have, and we're going to just go back and forth across the model in order to machine these details in there. So we can choose to go just back and forth across the entire model, or we could restrict it by a boundary and say only cut inside of this area. So we're going to select our 3D routine. Okay, it's having us set up the job. As far as the zero and the thickness, we're going to just click OK for all these settings here. We have a ball nose set as an 1/8 inch ball nose. Okay, the machining boundary where we're going to limit to selected vectors, and we're going to select this shape here, and then we're going to hold shift, and then we're going to select this shape here. So we say we want to cut inside of those areas. Okay, from there we have some different settings as far as what direction it's going to cut. We're going to just calculate. Okay, so you can see based on the vectors that contain the toolpath, so it only cut inside of an area. You noticed how where I didn't select the boundary, it went over the top of it. Okay, so if we want to restrict it and say, hey, don't cut inside of those areas, we can remove that. Okay, the other thing you'll notice is for these letters, because the letters are part of the embossment, right? You can see how they are 3D cut into the sign with the texture. Okay, now again, if we want to limit or control more of where we're cutting or not, we can come back and edit this. we can go to our selected vectors for our boundary, go back to our 2D. You know, maybe we want to include these circles. We don't want it to cut over top of those areas. We want to avoid those areas, so I'll select them. I lost it. Let's do it again. So I'll do that one, that one. Yeah. Alright, this one. So basically I'm telling it where to cut inside of. So let's say we don't want to go over that. Let's say we don't want to go over that. Okay, so this one, see how it doesn't select all the way around. It's probably one of the first steps I should have took, which was cleaning up the geometry, but I'm just gonna close this for now. Okay, from here I'm gonna go back to design, and there's some like join vector options. We're gonna come in here. We're gonna turn that one off. We're gonna turn that one off. We're gonna turn that one back on. All right. I'm gonna go through and fix whatever is broken there. So now I should be able to select that as a chain. Okay. We'll get back into here, and again, we want to. I'm holding shift. I'm not sure if you have to, but usually that's the case. But we're just adding some more boundaries in order to limit where we're cutting. Again, keeping the letters where they are, so that the tool runs back and forth across it. I'm gonna recalculate now. Okay, we're gonna reset. We're gonna run this through. So that's our 3D textured toolpath using our smaller cutter. Now it's hard to tell from the simulation the quality of these letters here, but yeah, they're carved in 3D. Same what's happening up here. This is going to be carved in 3D. These are going to be slightly below this face here. This face is just that border face. Now, if we do want to come in and clean up any profiles, we would do that now. But otherwise, I would say we're done with our inside work. Okay? So the next thing we'd want to do is do our outside work, which is this one here. I'm going to just turn these other ones off for a moment. Okay, so we have this profile here, right? We have this one here. These are we're going to use to cut out the top, and then we have this profile here and this profile here. We're going to use those to cut out the bottom. So similar case here where like these two, we want to like, I don't know, do that. I think that handles that one. Okay. This one's a single line, and this is fine, and this is fine. So we want to make sure the tool is cutting on the outside of these shapes, so we're not cutting into our project. So let's go ahead and close this. We're going to do a 2D profile. You know, we can do these one at a time. I don't know. I've had some interesting results, so there's definitely something that I don't quite understand. But either way, we're going to set our total depth. This is going to be a cut through, so we're going to cut deeper than the 1.5 inches, whatever is appropriate for your shop. In this case, I just have it as 100 thou deeper. Okay. Outside, inside, or outside. Usually the software does a pretty good job of determining inside and outside cuts. In this case, I don't have the travel to cut around the outside of the profile, so we're going to just cut across the top of it. So I have two open shapes here. So this is an open shape, this is an open shape, open shape, open shape. And in this case, I definitely ran into some, I would say, struggles of controlling where it's cutting or not. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to select all of it. And the first thing you'll notice is there's these black dots, and I'm not really sure what they mean, but I have a feeling that they mean something. I believe maybe the start point or start position. But okay, so we select all that. We have our tool size, we have our depth setting. We're going to say this is outside, and we're going to calculate. It's going to warn us. We're going to just say okay. We're going to just say okay. We're going to go to our 2D view, and you can see what we selected is the pink dotted, and then these arrows, that's the cutter. So you can see that one's on the outside. If we're up here, you can see this one's on the inside. Okay. If we go over here, you can see this one's on the outside, and if we go here, you can see this one's on the outside. Okay, so in this case, these two are cutting correctly. In this case, this one is as well, and in this one here, it's not. And I'm not positive how to properly switch that. Usually, I would just change the start point, which appears to be this green line. You can see this green line is over there, but I'm not sure exactly what to do to fix that. So so what I have done is I just removed that geometry from the selection. So I'll just select those. Gives me some warnings. Okay. Just want to make sure that one's on the outside. 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 Looks good. And then from there, I'll just copy this one. So I'm going to duplicate it. Then I'm going to edit it. Remove the selection. Just select this one. Calculate it. Okay, so if we look at it, you can see it's on this other side here. So I'm just going to come to here and tell it to go to the other side. And then calculate. And now you can see it's on the outside. Okay. So I do have some concerns because, you know, I'm cutting right at the limit of the machine, and if you look at the toolpath here, you can see it extends past just a little bit. So I don't know if I'm going to run out of travel there. These seem to be fine. They're right on the edge of it. This bottom one here as well seems to be fine. This one seems to be slightly outside of it. So we might want to trim up this profile, or see if we're gonna have enough travel for it or not. So we'll see. But yeah, those are the steps for the 3D cut and then the 2D cutout. From here, we're gonna reset. Go to our 3D view. We have all our toolpath turned on, right? We can turn it all off and just click Preview All Toolpaths, and that will show us all our 3D, and then it shows us our cutouts. We can double click on the areas to get rid of material, and we can see exactly what we got. Okay, all right. So that's that side there. Now, for our settings and things, if we come back into here and then we edit this, this is going to be our speeds and feeds and how aggressive we're cutting. So if we make this number smaller, we'll get a better finish, or more detail, should I say, and it will increase your cycle time. Okay. If we make it bigger, it will decrease your cycle time. You won't get you'll get a less quality finish, but it cuts it faster, right? So those are some settings there that you look at to adjust how fast you're cutting along. These are some settings here to adjust. That's for the 3D, okay? Now, for the 2D, you can go in and get to the same area where you come in here and you can edit. And this is some of its settings that it has. This is the speeds and feeds, you know, so maybe this one is 50 and 50 as well. We'll say okay on that. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So same thing. We can come in and update this one. All right. Now, the last step that we might do now that we've gone in and we've updated some of our settings is we want to get an idea of cycle time, how long it's going to take to run the job. So we have some reporting tools over here. Let me see. This one here. So it's going to tell us how long it's going to take. This is saying 45 hours, I think, of machine time. So, and I'm sure most of that is this 3D cutting. How long it's going to take to go back and forth there. So at 50 inches a minute, that's probably going to take too long. So we're going to speed that up and see what kind of impact it has on our cycle time. So let's close this and go back to this one. We'll come into here, right? So let's set it at, let's say 150. We'll say 75 on the plunge. Also, for the step over, we have a pretty fine step over here. We want to achieve our texture, but we don't necessarily want to over machine the project per se, where we take too much time. So let's maybe something like that. All right, so let's check the times. It's saying 5 hours, so there's a lot of 3D machining here with a smaller tool. So actually, I don't think that is that far off. It's 6 minutes to profile this. This we may be able to run faster. Again, we can come in and adjust some of our settings here and see what kind of texture we can actually get away with without taking too long, but still being able to get enough detail. Now, unfortunately, these previews tend to look better in pixels. It's hard to tell exactly what that will look like in real life. So to a certain degree, you kind of have to adjust that. But going from 10% to 40% now, I think we're at, we definitely can see a reduction in cycle time. We're down to about 4 hours now. Squeeze versus the juice, I don't know. It depends on the project, but yeah, okay, so that's a little bit about that. And then the last thing we might do is just post out, let's see, one of these here, save toolpaths. So if we have different tools, which we do, let me see, we probably could turn those off and save. Let's see, selected toolpath. Okay, so we're doing just the 3D. We can save out just the 3D toolpath, and then we can go back and turn our profiles on for our cutouts, and then save just those. Let's see. Those two. Yep. So we can turn these on and say visible toolpaths. This one and this one, same tool, and then we could save those. All right. That's what we got for you here today. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, just reply back to wherever this video may be posted. And other than that, we'll see you in the next one.